Welcome back to another episode of Cases from the Past. On this episode, I shall be covering the August 2014 disappearance and subsequent murder of 14-year-old schoolgirl Alice Gross in Hamwell, West London. The case gained plenty of media attention because of the details. It was highly publicised, and the Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, even made a statement sending condolences to Alice's family. The case began on August 28, 2014, when 14-year-old Alice Gross failed to return home from a walk near her home. She was reported missing that same day at 7 p.m. Alice not returning home raised alarm bells for her family. She was an aspiring singer-songwriter and was a talented student at school. She had no reason to run away. Not long after she was reported missing, a major search began. Police combed hours of camera footage from the likely path that Alice had taken. Alice had last been seen walking along the Grand Union Canal in West London at 4:26 p.m. She was heading towards her house. Camera footage shows this. On September the 2nd, her bag was discovered. This led police to target specific areas of the River Brent. The search continued, with specialist police officers being called in from different UK counties to assist with the search. Alice's family and the police continued to appeal for new information in the coming weeks. Then, on the 18th of September 2014, police would release a prime suspect. Arnis Sulkens, originally from Latvia, was that suspect. He would travel to work via the same canal in which Alice was last sighted by the CCTV cameras. Chillingly, upon background search in Sulkens, investigators uncovered a sinister revelation. Their suspect was a convicted murderer. His conviction was out of his home country. He had murdered his wife and buried her in Woodland. He had arrived in the UK without any questioning or assessment to his predatory character, somehow gaining entry in 2007. He had spent 7 years in prison for his wife's murder. Even sickening still, he had been arrested in 2009 on suspicion of drugging and molesting a 14-year-old girl. When the victim didn't make a statement, charges were dropped. This happened just 2 miles from where Alice was murdered. Having a prime suspect was a breakthrough that the police had wanted. However, despite this good news, bad news was soon to follow. On September 30th, 2014, Alice's body was discovered. Her naked body was found wrapped in bin bags in the fetal position. She was located in the canal, having been submerged by logs. Police were confident that Sulkens was their murderer. The previous murder conviction, him being sighted on CCTV, and his arrest for sexual assault of a young girl 2 miles from where Alice's body was discovered, were all confirmations of this. More CCTV showcased him returning to the area multiple times following Alice's disappearance. But where was their suspect? He had been reported missing himself not long after Alice had first been reported missing. He was thought to have fled back to his home country at first, but police soon found his passport at his home. An unforeseen event occurred just 4 days after Alice's body was found. Sulkens' badly decomposed body was discovered. Ruled a suicide, his body was in a densely overgrown spot close to where Alice had vanished from. Police speculate that Alice was abducted and her body was dumped in bushes the same day that she went missing. Sulkens was seen on CCTV returning to the area the following morning, with the likely intent of moving her body to conceal it further. This is when he would have dumped her body into the canal. The bags found on Alice's body were traced back to a building site where he was employed at the time. Based on the post-mortem of Alice, police surmised that he may have killed her whilst attempting to subdue her. She died by compression asphyxia, in which suffocation from compression of the torso occurs. It was strongly believed to be sexually motivated, with the evidence for this being his semen and a cigarette found at the scene. So, what can we learn from this case from the past? Well, this case has been attributed as being a case of opportunity for the offender, like many child abductions. The full breakdown of what happened is never going to be fully known. However, it is apparent that plenty could have been done to have avoided this tragic situation. Why was Zolkens even in the UK? His conviction for his wife's premeditated murder painted a clear picture of his brutality, yet no background checks or awareness of his character were highlighted when he arrived in the UK. In my view, this case was avoidable. Fortunately, some change has come from Alice's tragic murder. At an inquest into her death, her parents campaigned for change. They demanded careful, targeted reforms to address the inadequacies of cross-border information of high-risk offenders. Police forces now have to carry out criminal record and Interpol checks on foreign criminals and continue to use watch lists, which Zolkens hadn't even been on. The fact that a dangerous offender like Zolkens wasn't on a watch list defies belief. I feel like this crucial information should have already been shared. However, thankfully, background checks of foreign offenders mean we are all one step closer to progressing ahead. This greatly reduces the risk of any young girl being victimised under the same circumstances in the future. This has been another episode of Cases from the Past. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give me your thoughts on this case in the comments below.